I am Mehmet, a farmer living on the border between the Turkish provinces of Edirne and Tekirdağ. The peaceful life here is occasionally disturbed by herds of wild boars, uninvited guests who come to destroy the corn crop during harvest. To prevent further damage, we organized hunts to control their numbers. Early in the morning, we were in the cornfield looking for traces of wild boars. From the footprints to the large number of broken corn plants, it was clear that the wild boars had broken into the farm the night before. The pack of dogs searched the cornfield for traces of wild boars. Soon several wild boars, chased away by the dogs, rushed out of the cornfield. We held our guns firmly and shot one wild boar, and others ran up the hill. Soon the barking of dogs increased again, and we discovered a pack of hunting dogs surrounding a giant wild boar. Wow! This wild boar must weigh 150 kilograms. Uncle Hassan whispered. He signaled us to surround the wild boar with the determination to shoot it down. At a safe distance, Uncle Hassan signaled me to shoot. However, the missed shot caused the wild boar to run faster. It hid in the cornfield, making it difficult for us to see it. Uncle Hassan immediately signaled the hunting dogs to chase after the wild boar. Wild boars are stubborn, resilient creatures and very dangerous when wounded. I had to make sure the first shot was fatal. While checking the wild boar, the radio rang out. Mehmet, there are two running towards you, Uncle Hassan reported when a full-grown wild boar rushed out of the cornfield, aiming straight at me. My reflexes were quicker. The second shot cut through the air and hit its shoulder. It staggered, fell, groaned, and lay still. After the shot, my heart was still pounding because the wild boar had appeared so unexpectedly. About a moment later, a herd of wild boars rushed out from the cornfield, running across the tilled field. Although their speed was fast, it could not match the speed of our guns. The dogs chased the wild boar out of the cornfield. We set up an ambush outside and opened fire immediately. The loud explosion tore through the silence, and the wild boar collapsed after the fatal shot. Some of the wild boars, after being chased, ran from the cornfield into the wheat field. But the hunting dogs did not give up. A chase took place in the wheat field, and we ambushed them in a corner of the field. When the wild boar appeared, I raised my gun and shot it down with a fatal shot. Although taking down a wild boar doesn't make me happy, we have to do it because acres of food are facing wild boar infestation. I remember the first time I went hunting with my father when I was 14. I wasn't strong enough to hold a big gun, but he said pig hunting is not just about shooting, it's about learning to observe, read tracks, understand nature. With each passing year, I learn more about that. Maybe one day, when I am as old as Uncle Hassan, I will sit down and tell the story of the night of hunting wild boars in the cornfield, where the sound of gunfire, the smell of blood, and the joy of victory blend together, like an indelible part of the memories of a son of the Turkish mountains. I also cannot forget the wild boar hunting trips in the swamp area. It was completely different from hunting in the forest or in the fields. In the swamp, the number of wild boars was much greater, and we traveled by unique airboat. With it, we could kill dozens of wild boars in this breed. Our cornfield hunting trip is over. How do you feel? Leave your comments below to let us know. Don't forget to like and subscribe to receive the latest notifications.
Early in the morning, I received an urgent report from the villagers. A pack of wild boars was rampaging through the land, leaving destruction in their wake. This was no longer an uncommon occurrence. Wild boars were multiplying rapidly, becoming more daring, and even losing their fear of humans. If we didn't act now, the consequences would be catastrophic. Today, We were determined not to let these destructive beasts escape our grasp. Wild boars are not only massive and powerful, but also surprisingly agile and resilient. GPS tracking studies have shown that they can travel up to 40 kilometers per day in search of food. Whether crossing deep rivers, dense forests, or snow-covered fields, these creatures move with ease. Their endurance and adaptability make them formidable, but when their numbers spiral out of control, they become a serious threat to both agriculture and human settlements. Our first stop was a vast, eerily deserted field. But before we could take in our surroundings, a massive black figure with razor-sharp tusks came charging at us, a colossal wild boar, weighing around 150 kilograms and stormed forward, kicking up a cloud of dust with every thunderous step, showing no sign of hesitation, as if ready to bulldoze everything in its path. But reckless bravery comes at a cost. The echoing gunshot rang through the air, and in an instant, the beast collapsed in a cloud of dust, ending its audacious attack. We pressed on, venturing deeper into the land along the dusty red trail leading to the fields. The tension was palpable as our hunting dogs barked relentlessly. I steadied my breath, focusing intently, my senses tuned to the slightest movement. Suddenly, a dark figure burst out at an alarming speed. Without hesitation, I pulled the trigger before it could make its escape. The shot found its mark. The massive boar crumpled to the ground, marking yet another victory in our thrilling pursuit. A new day dawned over the peaceful countryside, but today was far from a leisurely one. Our mission was clear: hunt down the wild boars ravaging the vast cornfields ahead. The moment we unleashed the hunting dogs, we followed closely, rushing toward the frantic barking. The dogs had cornered a massive wild boar, leaving it with nowhere to run. Desperately, it thrashed about in a last-ditch attempt to escape. Wasting no time, my teammate pulled the trigger. In a split second, the beast collapsed, its massive body lying motionless in the field, a swift and intense hunt. To take the thrill up a notch, we mounted our motorbikes and launched into a high-speed chase after the wild boars. A dark silhouette darted across the green grassland, running for its life. But escaping our well-planned ambush was impossible. With a sharp, decisive shot, the chase came to an abrupt end. In just a single precise bullet, the boar was down. But the second target proved to be far trickier. Cunning and quick-witted, it changed directions constantly, forcing us to stay on its tail. Across the vast fields, only the roar of engines filled the air. We fired multiple shots, but the beast dodged them with remarkable agility. It wasn't until our final bullet hit its mark that the wild boar finally fell. The herd of wild boars dashed up the hillside, forcing us to abandon our vehicles and continue on foot. Moving cautiously, we scouted for the perfect ambush spot and held our breath. Below us, the wild boars were grazing peacefully, but they seemed uneasy. Sensing danger, they froze in place, listening carefully to their surroundings. Then, the gunfire rang out. Panic erupted as the boars scattered in all directions, but one of them was too late. It fell instantly, marking another successful hunt. With adrenaline pumping, we continued firing, taking down one target after another. On our way back, we had one last thrilling chase with a massive, heavy-set wild boar. It sprinted like a tornado, leaving a trail of dust behind. We immediately accelerated, locking our sights on it with laser focus. And then, with a single precise shot, the final boar collapsed. A perfect ending to an action-packed hunt. And that concludes our thrilling hunt. Did this adventure get your adrenaline pumping? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more intense hunting expeditions.
Poland is famous for its thriving wild boar population, attracting hunting enthusiasts from all over. This winter I returned here to participate in the annual wild boar hunting competition, which brings together hunters from all over. In the cold of winter, along with the white snow, can I conquer these exciting challenges? Join me in this video. The presence of wild boars in the city has become a nuisance to residents, as they frequently cross the roads, affecting traffic. In addition, wild boars often rummage through trash cans, destroying lawns and damage urban landscapes. The Polish government has taken many measures to encourage the hunting and extermination of these vandals. There are even annual target hunts in the hope of attracting hunters here and controlling the increase in wild boars. Early in the morning, the hunters were already at the location outside the forest. After the organizers announced the rules of the oriented wild boar hunt, we were ready to start the hunt. As I entered the middle of the snowy forest, I quickly encountered a herd of wild boars, which quickly ran away. Along with the barking of dogs, gunshots also echoed throughout the forest. A group of large wild boars with shaggy fur ran through the trees. I also quickly aimed and fired a few shots. While wandering around looking for prey, a wild boar suddenly appeared in front of us. It was quite small, moving slowly on the white snow. Perhaps the cold of winter had slowed it down. I immediately raised my gun and aimed. A gunshot rang out, and I easily took down the wild boar. A herd of wild boars had just run out from behind the bushes. Not missing the opportunity, I quickly raised my gun and aimed. Gunshots rang out continuously, but the speed of movement was too fast, making it impossible for me to hit the target. From a distance, my companion also opened fire and shot down a wild boar as it crossed the road. Going deeper into the forest, I saw new dig marks on the ground, which was a sign that the wild boar was very close. As expected, a few minutes later, a wild boar ran out of the bushes. Bare trees could not hide it. As soon as the wild boar jumped out of the bushes, I immediately pulled the trigger and fired. The gunshot rang out precisely, and the wild boar immediately lay flat on the white snow. After that, with the hunting dogs chasing, the wild boars appeared more frequently. I tried to observe carefully and always be ready to shoot, as the wild boar could run past at any time. I ambushed in an open space in the middle of the forest, listening carefully to the sound of dogs chasing. At that moment, a panicked wild boar ran out of the forest. Of course, I did not miss such a great opportunity. As soon as it ran past my sight, I quickly opened fire and took it down. The black wild boar stood out against the white snow, making it easier for me to observe, so I got my next trophy. Following the barking of the dogs, I saw a large wild boar. It was trying to fight back when surrounded by a pack of dogs. I immediately opened fire to finish it off. Close range. My shot was almost perfect, taking down the wild boar on the spot. With excitement, I quickly dragged the wild boar out of the forest. After achieving the first results, I continued to search for other targets. The gunshots rang out quickly and regularly, and quite a few wild boars were taken down. In the afternoon, the snow started to fall more heavily, making it even more difficult to find the wild boars. Through the dense trees, a wild boar was trying to escape the dog's pursuit. With the gun equipped with the red dot sight, I could aim more easily. In just a few short seconds, I fired several shots in succession to take down the wild boar. A herd of wild boars were trying to escape through the white snow. Their speed was so fast that it was difficult to aim. However, I still wanted to try my luck. A series of gunshots rang out. The large wild boars became more panicked and ran away faster. There was no time to aim carefully. Most of my bullets were inaccurate. Not giving up, we were still determined to track down and hunt wild boars until it was almost dark. My hunting dog was still patiently chasing a wild boar, barking loudly from bushes. I also immediately rushed into the bushes and chased after it until darkness covered the entire forest. I finally had a chance to shoot. The wild boar was exhausted and surrounded by dogs, so I only needed one shot to finish it off. This is the final result of the day, because it was getting dark and I needed to quickly return to the meeting point to report. Although I did not win the prize in today's hunting competition, this wonderful experience here will be unforgettable memories. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Remember to like, share and subscribe to support the channel. See you in the next hunting trip. That's my house every time it gets dark, Strange sounds from deep in the forest make us shiver. Those are the sounds of wild boars, uninvited vandals, constantly destroying my family's small garden. Today, a few friends and I have planned to go hunting at night in a nearby wild valley. What will we get from this hunting trip? Join me on this dramatic and crazy journey. Late in the afternoon, we drove into the valley, following a small dirt road full of rocks and gravel, eroded by the rain last night, making the journey more difficult. Before us was a peaceful scene of green pastures, herds of zebras and ostriches wandering around looking for food. The sky gradually darkened. A heavy air seemed to signal an upcoming thunderstorm. But that did not shake our determination. It was not until around 7:30 p.m. when the thick darkness covered the forest. The first wild boars began to appear. They were impressive in size, with thick dark grey fur and a characteristic long snout, always alert to strange noises around. In the drizzling rain, we quietly watched the pigs approach the trap and cautiously begin their meal, waiting for the right moment. I quickly opened fire on the pig in the most favorable position. The gunshots made the pigs panic and scatter everywhere. We immediately adjusted our guns and continued to search for targets in the darkness of the forest. Another pig slowly stepped out of the bushes. I pulled the trigger. The gunshot made it collapse on the spot. This night's hunt was really crazy. The rain made things more difficult, but we persisted, determined to take down the prey that had entered our sights.
1, 2.
Fortunately, the rain quickly stopped, leaving the air cool and quiet. We decided to move to another location, a large grassland nearby. In the pitch black night, the herd of cows was resting, creating a peaceful scene. But not long after, we discovered something unexpected. Did you see it? Not just one, but many giant wild boars, standing crowded among the herds of cows. These wild boars can weigh up to 200 kg, and with their ferocious nature, they are not afraid to face other species. I aimed at the largest wild boar, held the gun tightly and pulled the trigger, and took down the other pigs one by one. With each shot, we had to focus on shooting accurately, making sure to take down as many pigs as possible. Crowded herds of pigs panicked and ran away, making aiming more difficult. At the same time, we also had to be careful not to accidentally shoot the herd of cows. When the hunt ended, the ground was full of shot pigs, scattered everywhere. We quickly collected the spoils, lined up to take inventory. Although we had taken down many pigs, the number of pigs that escaped was still very large, making us feel regretful. Our goal did not stop there. Determined to hunt bigger wild boars, we climbed onto the truck bed, looking out into the distance for prey. One of the weapons I had carefully prepared was a loudspeaker that emitted a special sound. The realistic sound from the loudspeaker not only made the pigs curious, but also attracted them closer. Look! A wild boar was quickly weaving through the grass, coming towards us. It was huge, with dark skin and fur, its eyes glowing red under the light, although a little wary. Curiosity made it continue to move towards us. When it was within ideal distance, I fired the first shot, aiming straight at its head. However, the wild boar did not fall. The second and third shots rang out in succession. I still struggled and tried to run away. It was not until the fifth shot that I was able to completely take down the prey. The spoils of war made us extremely excited.
Kidding me? What?
It seemed that this hunting experiment was more successful than expected, as not only the sound but also the light from the headlights attracted more pigs. We continued to ambush, taking down a few more, all of which were attracted by the sound I made. This was truly a new and exciting night hunting experience I had ever had. It was late at night, but we still persisted in ambushing, determined to take down a few more wild pigs. Giant black shadows were leisurely foraging in the field, accidentally entering our sights. Once I had aimed at a target, I quickly opened fire. The loud gunshots frightened the pigs and they ran away. However, our group of hunters did not let them escape. We all carefully adjusted our guns, trying to take down the entire herd of pigs.
Hey, what you got, bud?
The accurate shots helped us take down many large pigs, which was a great achievement. Quiet night, we worked tirelessly to kill the pigs, contributing to minimizing the damage they caused to the farmers in the area. However, as the night grew late, fatigue gradually sets in. We realized that it was time to end the hunt. Gunshots gradually faded away and perhaps the pigs were too scared to come back. The hunt ended with a proud result, bringing us the joy of a successful night of hunting. The last gunshots fell silent and the countryside returned to its usual quiet. Despite the difficulties and challenges, our teamwork and perseverance helped us achieve our goal. It was truly a memorable experience. Crazy but fun night. Thank you for following and see you on the next journey.
I had the opportunity to visit my aunt's home in the Baden-Württemberg region of southwestern Germany, where the vast Schwarzwald mountains stretch to the horizon. My trip was not simply a tourist trip, but to hunt wild boar. This invasive species has been growing stronger and stronger, attacking farmers' farms, including my aunt's farm, which has suffered heavy damage. My cousin Wilhelm took me to the gathering place in the village, where I got to know other experienced hunters. The hunt was divided into groups. I kept watch at predetermined positions a few hundred meters away from Wilhelm, waiting for the wild boar to appear or be chased away by the hounds. After about 10 minutes of waiting, I could clearly hear the wild boar squealing in the bushes. My heart started pounding. Even though I had been through dozens of hunts, the moment of waiting always made me nervous. Every hunt was different because nothing was repeated. The bushes shook as something started to rush out. It was a giant wild boar. It charged straight at me, and without thinking, I shot instinctively. The wild boar was instantly killed. After shooting down the wild boar, we didn't have time to celebrate. Another wild boar suddenly appeared, charging towards me. I quickly fired. The wild boar fell down before it could attack us. After a few minutes, everything was quiet again. The smell of gunpowder mixed with the air of the mountains and forests created a strange aroma. It was passionate, lively, and very wild. At around 10 o'clock, when the sun was shining everywhere, I had just rested when Wilhelm's voice rang out over the radio. There is a very large wild boar coming towards you. Be prepared. I quickly stood up, gripping my gun and waiting. Another huge wild boar appeared. It ran past me without realizing the danger was approaching. From a perfect position, I raised my gun and shot it down. The gunshot tore through the still air. The wild boar was destroyed in a split second. Around noon, we moved to a stream to rest. Wilhelm also said that wild boars needed water. They would move a lot to this area. Indeed, it did not take long for a wild boar to charge in, and like the previous ones, it could not escape its fate of being destroyed. The mountainous area here is very large. It is also home to wild boars. The wild boars that appear are all very large in size, perhaps because they are rarely hunted and have abundant food sources, so they grow very quickly. Furthermore, many wild boars in this area seem to have no fear of humans. Perhaps because hunting activities in this area are limited and there are few large-scale hunting organizations, they are not afraid of hunters. However, to ensure safety, Wilhelm still told me, do not shoot when you cannot see the target clearly. Do not shoot in the opposite direction of the encirclement. And remember, we are here to protect the forest, not to kill indiscriminately. So, when faced with wild boars that intend to attack, I remain calm and shoot when I am sure of hitting the target. This is true every time I hunt, because it brings down the wild boar quickly and painlessly. It also shows respect for nature. In the late afternoon, we moved north, where there were deep ravines with many wild boars. The terrain was rougher here, and the trees were taller, obstructing our vision, so we had to carefully watch for any traces of wild boars. When they appeared, we worked together to kill them one by one. For us, hunting is not simply a sport or a personal challenge. It is my way of preserving the balance of the forest, an ecosystem that I love like family. Every shot is considered not only for accuracy, but also for ethics and responsibility. Maybe tomorrow I will go back to the forest, maybe in a few weeks, but I know one thing for sure. Every time I do, I will not only be a hunter, but also a guardian of the life of this beloved mountain forest. Finally, before the hunting trip ended, we collected all the spoils. Everything was marked, recorded, and checked for health before being brought back to the village for processing. The journey is over. Please like and subscribe to watch more of our videos. Central Anatolia is one of the largest agricultural regions in Turkey. It is also the place where wild boar is most attractive, especially when the fields are just harvested when wild boar are most present. For hunters in the region, this is the prime time to hunt wild boar in order to control the population in the area. In the early morning, we quietly moved along the edge of the field. There, I found the typical footprints of wild boars and even some plowed up patches, indicating that wild boars had been feeding here for days. Around 7 a.m., as the sunlight filled the fields, I saw a giant wild boar charging towards the forest. I quickly gathered my spirit and raised my gun to shoot. The gunshot rang out as the wild boar fell. Wow, it was huge. My teammate Amir guessed that this wild boar weighed about 110 kilograms. How about you? Try to guess how much it weighs. After shooting the wild boar, we continued to search for wild boars in the field. From afar, the barking of dogs became more intense. We hurriedly searched and found a herd of wild boars about 100 meters away from us. Oh my God, a herd of giant pigs. Unbelievable, Amir exclaimed in surprise. Indeed, the members of this herd of wild boars are all very large in size. It is unimaginable how much destruction they can cause during the sowing season. The gunshot rang out like thunder in the wilderness. The boar collapsed on the spot. The rest ran towards the forest. We quickly chased after it, looking for another chance to get a shot. The well-trained hunting dogs tracked the boar and chased the prey to our ambush position. It was determined not to let this herd of wild boars escape, as they could return to the farm and wreak havoc during the sowing season. Therefore, they had to be exterminated. We moved west, where the dogs were surrounding the wild boars. When they rushed, we opened fire continuously, killing many pigs at once. When the shooting stopped, I still couldn't think of anything else. My heart was pounding, my hands were shaking, and sweat was pouring down my shirt. Because this was the first time I shot so many wild boars at once. All of them were huge wild boars.
Ooh.
hunting wild boar in the field is much different than hunting in the mountains or in the forest. Because in my mind, I am always determined to eliminate this pest. If we do not destroy them, the farmers in this area will become victims, including our family. This is a reality in many rural areas in Turkey and many countries in Europe. If wild boars are not controlled, the consequences will certainly be more serious. The sun rose high. The temperature also gradually increased, but the determination to kill the wild boar did not decrease. We also could not believe that there were so many wild boars in this field. In just one morning, we discovered dozens of adult wild boars foraging here. When we saw the pack of hunting dogs chasing the wild boars, we quickly chased after them. At a safe distance, we fired, hitting a few wild boars while the rest ran away. However, the emir quickly chased after them and tried to shoot down a few more wild boars. Although it was almost noon, the chase was still very dramatic.
Tamam bırak Paucek.
In the afternoon, we drove to the farm to transport the wild boars, and we encountered another wild boar, which seemed to have been separated from the herd of dozens of pigs earlier. Amir quickly shot the boar when it appeared, but because of its large and ferocious body, we had to fire several shots in succession to completely destroy it. This wild boar is hard to kill, the Emir whispered. It probably led the charge in destroying many of our farms. Hunting wild boar in the fields after harvest is not a simple task. It is a way to protect the farm. I am not a person who enjoys killing, but I understand that nature has its own laws, and I am a part of them. The trip to Oise was originally just to relax, visit old friends, and breathe in the countryside air of northern France. But unexpectedly, a conversation over a glass of wine led me to a wild boar hunt the very next day. Oise is home to dense oak forests with rugged terrain, an ideal habitat for wild boars. My friend, a local hunter, said that if we were lucky, we could encounter a whole herd within just a few hours. I was skeptical, but still grabbed my rifle and went along, and so the journey began unplanned, yet full of excitement and anticipation. The whole team quickly went into a state of alert. Just a few seconds later, 2 wild boars appeared and dashed across the road. The hunter's blood inside me seemed to surge. I raised my gun, aimed at the one and pulled the trigger. The first shot missed, but by the second shot the prey could no longer escape. It tumbled a few times, then lay thrashing dead on the other side of the road. A fairly impressive start. I was sure that was enough to score points with the local hunters on my first time in the team. Continuing to the pre-scan hunting area, the whole team began to spread out to search for signs of the prey. I chose to lie in ambush behind a dense bush and patiently waited. 15 minutes of silence passed before another wild boar appeared. I quietly raised my gun, waiting for it to come a little closer, but the animal probably sensed danger and suddenly changed direction to flee. Too bad for it. My gun barrel was locked on target. Its sideways escape only made it easier for me to aim, and perhaps I truly have a connection with Woz. After only half a morning of hunting, I had already encountered several wild boars in a row. Like the one I just shot, I took it down while lying in ambush on a hillside. From afar, I could already see its large figure, but when I got closer to check, its actual size still shocked me. It had to weigh at least over 120 kilograms, no less. Approaching noon, I finally had the chance I'd been waiting for, a face-off with an entire herd of wild boars. Spotting their silhouettes from afar, I immediately rushed to a hiding spot, kept silent, and waited for the right moment. The sound of hooves crunching the dry leaves grew louder. One led the way, followed by a large herd cutting across the path. I couldn't hesitate any longer and began firing repeatedly. The earlier gunshots seemed to have made the surrounding wild boars more cautious, forcing us to keep moving. By chance, I discovered a small pond hidden within a dense, overgrown area. Something in my gut told me to stop there, and sure enough, just moments later, a wild boar appeared at the edge of the pond, calmly lowering its head to drink. I tightened my grip on the gun, controlled my breathing, and gently pulled the trigger. After the successful shot earlier, the team gradually pulled back from the oak forest. We stayed at the forest's edge for a while, treating it as a last chance to try our luck before heading home. And quite unexpectedly, just minutes into the wait, a rustling sound came from the bushes right where I was lying in ambush. Before I could react, the wild boar burst out at an astonishing speed. The shot missed, and the boar escaped in an instant. that's the end of today's hunting journey. Did this trip excite you? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to catch more thrilling hunts. I couldn't sit still any longer when I saw my fields being ravaged by wild boars. Every time they came through, my family's entire harvest was wiped out. All the effort and care invested for more than half a year went down the drain. And this wasn't just my problem. The whole village, even the entire region in Georgia, was suffering because the wild boar population was becoming increasingly rampant. So, when I heard about a local hunting trip being organized, I decided to join. Not just for my own fields, but to help stop the spread of this invasive species. We arrived at the forest edge early in the morning. In front of us stretched a wide clearing covered in young grass, dotted with a few low shrubs. The air was fresh and pleasantly cool. Everyone was eager to begin the hunt. After about half an hour lying in ambush under a tree, the first target of the day emerged and immediately entered my sights. I gripped my rifle tightly, waiting for the moment it slowed its pace, then decisively pulled the trigger. A precise shot brought the wild boar down on the spot. A smoother start couldn't be hoped for. Elsewhere, my friend Michael and his team also spotted a small wild boar. Perhaps sensing the lurking danger, it hurriedly fled. Although Michael reacted quickly, unfortunately his bullet missed the target, allowing the prey to escape by a narrow margin. The whole team started moving deeper into the dense forest filled with tangled shrubs. At this point, the hunting dogs were released to track the wild boar scent. These four-legged friends were as sharp as owls and never disappointed me. Shortly after, a boar was driven out of the bushes by the dogs. Seizing a moment, I raised my gun, aimed straight, and pulled the trigger. The boar was hit and fell down right in front of the bush. A clean shot. By noon, the hunt inside the forest was still lively. Suddenly, a series of dog barks erupted from the trees ahead. I immediately became alert, straining to listen. Amidst the barking was the rustling of dry leaves. The wild boars were approaching. I gripped my gun tightly, ready to shoot. Here they come, not just one, but a whole herd. Seizing the opportunity, I fired continuously. The boars scattered in panic behind the bushes. Amid the chaotic scene, a few boars lay fallen. After a short lunch break, the hunt continued, this time in the low hills behind the forest. I chose a high vantage point for ambush, my eyes fixed on the open space ahead. Time seemed to freeze, and when a dark figure appeared through the bushes, I pulled the trigger without hesitation. Bang! Dust flew everywhere, but the boar was not hit. What a pity. Well, I'll wait for another chance. The day is still long. Moving to a barren land with no green trees, I stared intently. Then the chance for revenge came. A wild boar appeared. Although the shot was from quite a distance, I decided to take the risk. Looking through the scope, holding my breath, and gently squeezing the trigger. A precise shot, the boar collapsed. Even so, I could still hear my heart pounding in my chest. Such narrow victories always bring a breathless and satisfying feeling. Just as expected, another pitch-black wild boar appeared, busily rooting through the soil, completely unaware of the danger lurking nearby. It seemed like it would be an easy shot. I calmly raised my rifle, took careful aim, and pulled the trigger, but the bullet only grazed the animal's back, startling it and sending it bolting away. Today's hunt ends here, though there were some missed shots that left a touch of regret. The thrill of stalking, pulling the trigger, and those heart-pounding moments remain unforgettable experiences. Leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to follow more thrilling hunts.